I got recommended this video recently and I kind of just want to go over it and just talk about like what these two people got wrong, because they got a lot wrong. Of course, the man's head is in the right place, but your head being in the right place does not create revolution. I believe there are some points that can be made with this video, and thus I will make them here. And, well, if I make any mistakes, then feel free to correct me below. Let's just get in this.
Step 1, remove the ruling class. Step 2, create a new ruling class with a different name. The revolution always begins with the people.
Now, in her defense, she is accidentally entirely right, which is really funny, because socialism aims to, instead of having a dictatorship with the bourgeoisie being the ruling class, it creates a dictatorship with the proletariat, one where a majority of people are the ruling class, and it can be bended, it can be distorted, and all that stuff. That is something I'm going to get into, not for right now. But yes, you are right. Socialism does replace the current ruling class with a new ruling class. The workers, the proletariat, not the bourgeoisie. Though the bourgeoisie can come back into power after the revolution, which is what I'm going to make a point about.
So close to actually having a good thought in your head, and yet so far away.
Pot calling the kettle black.
This is actually the central theme of George Orwell's book Animal Farm.
That's probably the same exact source she used, because this book is CIA propaganda and is used for right-wing reactionary propaganda, because it's anti-communist propaganda. I'm not kidding. Also, apparently, George Orwell raped his underage girlfriend too, so I forgot to mention that people did do rape apologia for George Orwell. Liberals will do this if it's politically advantageous to them. This is not a new thing, nor has it ever been a new thing. Just look at Graham Plattner in Maine. A lot of people will and have come to his defense, saying that, oh, he didn't actually rape her, he just, just look it up yourself. It's too disgusting to even think about.
In the book, the animals, dissatisfied with how badly they're being treated by the ruling elite, which in this case is the farmer, overthrow the establishment and take control of the farm under the leadership of the pigs, who are the brains of the operation. And then together they craft their new ideology and paint...
This was never how revolutions worked, ever in history. Are you telling me they just went in blind with no theory or whatever to guide them and was like, you know what, we'll figure it out later? The theory within the bourgeoisie, the feudalists, and even the proletarians, stupidity like this is exactly why George Orwell wrote fiction, because whenever he was writing non-fiction, he was unironically praising Hitler, always came first and appealed to the masses. Why do you seriously think Lenin thought of everything after the revolution? Are we dead ass?
Their new ideology and paint them in the form of commandments on the barn wall where everyone can see. But the pigs start sneaking out when nobody's watching and subtly and gradually change.
If this book wasn't just anti-communist propaganda, then this could have been an allegory for revisionism. Except even as an allegory for revisionism, it does have a problem to where, the revisionists didn't silently change the rules. They actively and openly and proudly proclaimed that this new change to the system would be a new way forward for the revolution. Read Enver Hoxha's Imperialism and the Revolution, because it's a really good book. I fucking love Hoxha.
Changing the rules more and more over time, rigging the system more and more in their own favor. And the final scene in the book, the pigs arrange to have a meeting with the local human farmers in...
Yeah, you see what I mean? If you were to just rewrite this book slightly, then it would be a wonderful allegory for revisionism. But, you know what, I'll just let it play out for a little bit.
In order to discuss and negotiate their own mutual self-interest. And when the other animals decide to sneak up to the house and peer through the window to see this meeting, they discover that they can no longer tell the difference between the humans and the pigs. This is the final passage. The creatures outside looked from pig to man, and from man to pig, and from pig to man again, but it was already impossible to say which was which. Now, the lesson is not, or should not be, that socialism does this, or communism does this, or even capitalism does this, but rather that power does this. So when
This is the idea that power inherently corrupts, which is wrong, because power only really exists so far as class interests exist. The bourgeoisie, the billionaires, have the most power, and thus they get to make all the rules. And we don't get to make all the rules as long as the system still exists. This is completely leaving out the idea of class interest. There's no class analysis here. It's just the idea that power is inherently bad, inherently corrupts no matter what. This is the exact point she was trying to make, and you're too uneducated to see that. I'm not calling you stupid, because stupidity only exists insofar as you being unable and unwilling to learn new stuff. I'm calling you uneducated because you're not that educated on socialism, on class, on society as a whole. It's okay. We all still have things we need to learn.
whenever you have a system where the people in power start changing the system in a way that centralizes or consolidates power in the hands of fewer and fewer people, you should be worried. Now, ironically, you're holding this up as an inevitable outcome of a socialist ideology when the capitalist ideology that you are defending in its favor has already done this process, like to completion. The system that it replaced was one of a ruling class of aristocrats who owned everything, which offered very little opportunity, if any, for regular people to improve their own life or their circumstances. The new system offered opportunity through a free marketplace where anybody with a good idea and a good work ethic could build the life that they deserve. But that
Funny enough, with this clip, I actually agree with him up until the point I cut this off at, and I'll kind of explain why. I just kind of want to say, the system did work as intended until it entered its imperialist stage and started creating monopolies, trusts, and all these things that cannot be undone. You cannot turn back the clock of history, you must move it forward. Anyways, he's gonna make it out to be an individual thing, so be ready.
And the pigs, the capitalists, became wealthy enough that they had the power to start subtly changing the system more and more over time, rigging it more and more in their favor, to the point where they became a ruling elite who controlled the system not through work, not through effort, not through merit, but through the ownership itself.
The thing is, the system didn't fundamentally change. It entered a new form, which is identical to the old one. It just power just consolidated within itself. In competition, there must be a winner. The competition still exists. It's just that the petty bourgeois, the people in last place, are now getting crushed under the weight of their own competition, and the petty bourgeoisie, the middle class, the small business owner, is getting destroyed in favor of, the people under the bourgeoisie, under all of them, the proletariat, creating society getting split into two new factions, the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, essentially paving the way for socialism through the means of production getting put into fewer and fewer hands.
Ruling class who own increasingly close to everything, offering little opportunity for regular people to improve their lives or their circumstances. Basically indistinguishable from the corruption that they replaced. The mistake was not taking power away from the farmer. It was entrusting power to the pigs. The lesson is not to be an ideologue and put your blind faith in any system and believe that the people who have power in that system.
Don't we just love the marketplace of ideas? Yeah, okay, so I don't really understand what he's trying to say here, saying it was a mistake giving the power to the pigs. Why would you let actual, real, physical pigs control society? Or are we talking about the bourgeoisie? Because socialism definitionally takes power away from the bourgeoisie. What? And if it doesn't try and completely abolish the bourgeoisie, it's just social democracy under a red banner, just like Mao or, all these others, that revisionist countries.
Actually have your best interest at heart.
What interest? Class isn't real, so you can't say class interest.
And you should pay very close attention when the people in power start painting anyone and everyone who challenges their power as some radical leftist, socialist, communist revolutionary.
Because we are the only ones who can challenge their power. Next.
The truth is, revolutions are not usually the product of the ideology of the revolutionary. They're a product of the ideology of the people who get overthrown, a result of a prolonged refusal to listen to people's demand for change and instead
They are a result of the contradictions within a system. Trust me, if it was viable to do social democracy forever, the bourgeoisie totally would, but they just can't. It's just not possible. When profit starts to plummet and money cannot be made anymore, the system just starts being torn apart in an effort to make more money by getting rid of all these social programs and privatizing everything. That's what fascism is. Fascism is the complete version of that, an effort to consolidate the state's interests fully with the bourgeoisie and completely abandoning any sense of democracy.
insist on ushering the system down a path that skews it more and more in their own favor. See, the truth is, there is no serious, widespread call for radical, total revolution anywhere in the Western world right now. But there is an awful lot of call for reform, a call to undo some of the substantial damage that's been done
gradually and subtly.
over time, making the system increasingly unsustainable for most of the people who live under it and work in order to make it function. So if you want to avoid a full-scale, messy, and probably quite chaotic revolution,
As
you
pretty
should...
much just demonstrated, a revolution is unavoidable because of the contradictions with the system. So, you in wanting to prevent a revolution will cause more people to die than if a revolution happened. Look at Nazi Germany or in Italy. What is worth doing is often the most difficult, and revolution is the most difficult thing of all.
not be mocking the people calling for change. You should listen, because the revolution will not be caused by the people demanding change to alleviate their suffering. It will be caused by the people who benefit from that suffering refusing to listen.
In this video, I thought she would talk more, but she didn't, I guess. It's not going to be caused by the idea that the system won't change. It's by the fact that the system cannot change and will, inevitably lead to revolution because of just how bad things will get due to the system being unable to change, unable to improve, and just historically obsolete.